Today, whilst continuing our work focusing on volcanoes, we are going to focus on Mount Vesuvius and the destruction of Pompeii which occurred so long ago. Let's have a look at the timeline of the eruption. Mount Vesuvius, which is in Italy, erupted on the 24th of August AD 79 for the first time in hundreds of years. The consequences for the people who were living and working nearby were terrible. Situated on the Gulf of Naples in Italy, the eruption destroyed the neighbouring cities of Herculaneum and Pompeii, causing the death of thousands of people. Pompeii was the larger of the two cities, but both were filled with shops, houses and other buildings during the time of the Roman Empire. Let's have a look at a timeline of the eruption. Days before the eruption, tremors were felt around the area of Mount Vesuvius, but these were not considered completely unusual, and many had been felt in the time leading up to the eruption. Life in Pompeii continued as normal. On the morning of the 24th of August, Mount Vesuvius' first eruption phase began. It started with a small explosion. A tremor was felt and a thin ash cloud was sent into the sky. It is thought that the feeling in Pompeii at this point was still relatively normal, as tremors often happen near a volcano. By the early afternoon, Vesuvius erupted violently. A massive ash cloud was expelled up to 20 kilometers high. It dominated the sky and started to block out the sun. The whole sky started to turn darker and darker. The ash cloud was carried southeast and Pompeii was starting to be plunged into darkness. It wouldn't be long before the ash would start to fall to the ground. Moving further into the afternoon, ash and pumice started to fall. Panic started to develop amongst the people of the city. Rocks and debris began to land on buildings and build up on rooftops. Moving through the afternoon, the skies grew darker and more surrounding buildings were damaged. Moving through into early evening, more and more of the ash cloud filled the skies, more debris surrounded the village, and more damage was caused. Many lives were lost. During the night, the volcanic ash cloud reached its peak of around 30 kilometers in the air. This cloud then began to plummet back down to Earth. A pyroclastic surge of extremely hot gas, rocks, and volcanic material flowed with huge force and speed down the northwest side of the volcano into Herculaneum. Here, unfortunately, it killed many people. It is thought that the pyroclastic surge travelled an astonishing 350 kilometers per hour. Pyroclastic means solidified lava material, and 350 kilometers per hour is 3 times the maximum speed you're allowed to travel on a British road. Through the night, or around 2 a.m. on the 25th of August, the eruption cloud collapsed once again. Mount Vesuvius released a second pyroclastic surge, closely followed by a third, which was even stronger than the last one. The surge was growing ever closer to Pompeii. By the time the sun rose on the next morning of the 25th of August, Mount Vesuvius had collapsed again. A third surge of rock and glass was released. This one travelled with even greater force. It reached Pompeii and killed everyone remaining, and even destroyed the final buildings left standing. Darkness still hung over the Bay of Naples. This was due to the drifting ash cloud in the air. Throughout the next morning, additional surges followed, bringing more rock, gas, and debris down. They covered the village of Pompeii. By the end of the eruption process, the city was buried under tons of volcanic material. By the end of the 25th of August, the landscape around Mount Vesuvius had been changed forever. Vesuvius was a crater. The river and the port were gone. Pompeii had been completely buried. Within a few years, no one could remember where the city had once stood.